By 2127, Olympus City had survived for 30 years. 4,000 people live beneath the slopes of the largest volcano in the solar system. They had air, they had food, they had power. They had walls strong enough to keep radiation out. They had machines that could pull water from ice buried under an alien world. From the outside, it looked like a miracle, a human city on Mars. But that morning, Mara was not looking at a miracle. She was looking at a number, and the number was wrong. Not wrong enough to trigger an alarm, not wrong enough to cause panic, just wrong enough for an engineer to stop breathing for a second.
Check the backup. Pull the raw sensor data.
The reservoir level had dropped again. On Earth, a number like that might mean a leak, a faulty meter, a bureaucratic mistake.
On Mars, it means something else.
On Mars, it meant 4,000 people might soon be arguing over the same supply. And on Mars, arguments do not stay theoretical for long. Because there is no ocean, no river, no rain, no emergency shipment arriving tomorrow. There is only what the city can extract, recycle, and defend.
The pumps are fine. The filters are fine. The recycling loops are within tolerance. So why is the water falling? For 6 years, every major problem had eventually led back to physics. Pressure, temperature, flow rate. Something measurable, something fixable. This felt different. Something else.
To understand why that scared her, we need to go back to the beginning. Back to the moment humans first set foot on Mars. 2029. The first humans landed on Mars. A small crew, months of travel, 90 days on the surface. They were not there to build a city, not yet. They were there to answer one question. Could humans survive here at all? The answer was not obvious. Mars was beautiful, but it was not kind. The air was almost nothing, less than 1% of Earth's atmosphere. The cold could stop machinery mid-operation. Dust covered everything, crept into everything, damaged everything slowly. Radiation struck the surface in ways Earth's magnetic field had always protected us from. A message sent to Earth could take 18 minutes to arrive. A reply? 18 more. Even at the speed of light, Earth was too far away to be apparent. So the first crew learned the oldest lesson of Mars. Help was not coming quickly. If something broke, they fixed it. If something failed, they adapted. If something went wrong, they survived long enough to tell Earth how. They returned home as heroes. But the real achievement was not the flag. It was the proof. Mars could be reached. Mars could be worked. Mars could be survived. For a while. And that was enough. 2031. Then came the second fleet. Then a third. Every 26 months, when Earth and Mars aligned in their long orbit, ships crossed the dark between worlds. Some carried people. Some carried machines. Some carried things too ordinary to become legends. Pipes, seals, reactors, printed parts, food packets, tools, the bones of a future city. Nuclear power systems switched on. Drills bit into the Martian ground. Ice buried beneath the surface became water. Water became oxygen. Oxygen became breath. And breath became time. At first, there were only a few people, then dozens, then 100. They lived in pressure vessels. They worked in suits. They slept under radiation shielding. They measured everything. Every liter of water, every gram of oxygen, every calorie of food, every hour of power. Survival was mathematics. and mathematics was merciless. But slowly, something changed. The base stopped feeling temporary. The first tunnels were dug, then reinforced, then expanded. Regolith, Martian soil, was mixed, processed, and hardened into walls. Sulfur and rock became structure. Nothing was shipped from Earth. The walls were made of Mars itself. That was the psychological shift. The moment Mars stopped being only a destination and started becoming material. 2035. The first garden was small, almost laughably small. A sealed chamber, artificial light, a few rows of green in a world of red. But when the first food grown on Mars was harvested, nobody laughed. The crew gathered around it like something sacred. Not because it was enough to feed them. It was not. Not because it tasted better than Earth food. It probably did not. But because it meant something. For the first time, humans ate something that had never touched Earth. Something grown from Martian resources. Something alive, created inside a dead world. And once that happened, the dream changed again. Mars was no longer just a mission. It was no longer only survival. It became a promise. 2040. Then came the children. The first generation born on Mars. They had never felt rain, never seen an ocean, never looked up at a blue sky. To them, Earth was not home. Earth was a place in videos, a bright point in old stories. For their parents, Mars was an achievement. For them, it was normal. They grew up under ceilings of rock and printed concrete. They learned early that doors were not just doors. They were pressure boundaries. They learned that water was not just something from a tap. It was a counted substance, a circulated substance, a political substance.
2080.
1 million people on Mars. The threshold. The point where Mars could, in theory, survive without Earth. Some said they had reached it. Others weren't so sure. But 1 million people spread across a planet is not one city. It is hundreds of them. Some old, some crowded. Some already writing their own rules. Some already at war with each other over resources. By 2127, one of those settlements was Olympus City, at the base of Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system, 21 kilometers high, 600 kilometers wide, a mountain so large it would swallow countries on Earth. The location had not been chosen for beauty. On Mars, beauty is never enough. Olympus City was built there for practical reasons. Mineral-rich ground, geothermal advantage, natural formations that could be adapted into shelter. And shelter mattered, because most of the city was underground, not by preference, by necessity. Mars has no magnetic field like Earth, no thick atmosphere to protect against radiation from space. The surface exposure would kill you, slowly, then quickly. So human life moved down into tunnels, caverns, reinforced chambers. Rock became protection. The city was not a skyline, it was a nervous system. Corridors, airlocks, water lines, heat exchangers, power conduits, gardens, sleeping quarters, workshops, schools, clinics. A civilization folded underground. Population 4,000, 30 years old, still figuring itself out. This is Mara, water systems engineer, born on Earth, came to Olympus City 6 years ago. She had come because she believed in one idea. If humans could solve the engineering problems, Mars could work.
6 years earlier, I had left Earth believing Mars would be different. Smaller, more rational. A place built by engineers instead of politicians. a place where old mistakes would stay behind. Mars is harsh, but it's understandable. Mars follows physics. People are supposed to follow reason.
That belief had carried her through every long shift, every broken pump, every clogged filter, every night when the city hummed around her like a living animal. Her job? Make sure 4,000 people don't run out of water. Today, that job was complicated. Every city has a center. In Olympus City, it was the garden. Not a park, more like a cathedral built for photosynthesis. Plants grew in carefully controlled rows, some in mist, a fine spray of water and nutrients coating the roots directly. No soil needed. 95% less water than traditional farming. Mara walks through, but she's not admiring. She's checking irrigation lines, making notes. On Earth, that would be efficiency. On Mars, it was survival. Because water was not only water. Water was food. Water was oxygen. Plants maintained the balance that kept the recycling system alive. Water was hygiene. Water was cooling. Water was the difference between a city and a tomb.
Every drop extracted, filtered, used, recovered, and used again. The system is beautiful, closed, precise, fragile.
The pumps were working. The filters were working. The recycling loops were within tolerance. There was no obvious leak, no broken valve, no sudden failure. The system was doing exactly what it had been built to do. And still, the reservoir was falling.
That means the problem is somewhere else. Not in the machinery, in the rules.
The sky on Mars is not blue. Iron oxide, rust, suspended in the thin atmosphere, gives it that permanent orange-pink color. The Sun appears 40% smaller than it does from Earth, 225 million kilometers from home. A message sent right now reaches Earth in 18 minutes. The reply? 18 more. That 36-minute gap means every decision here gets made here. No waiting for approval. No asking for help.
No parent planet to settle every argument.
The water extraction fields were in Sector 3. Years earlier, one of Olympus City's founding groups had developed that region. They had brought the first drilling rigs, installed the early extraction lines, mapped the underground ice pockets, risked lives and resources before the city had become stable. To them, the claim was simple. We built it, we maintained it, the water is ours. The city council disagreed. To them, the claim was even simpler. 4,000 people depend on this system. Water cannot belong to one group. It belongs to the city. Mara's team stood between them. Engineers do not like being between political arguments. Engineers like pressure readings, flow rates, failure models, things that can be tested.
This is not a technical failure. This is a human one.
The meeting began quietly. That made it worse. Nobody shouted at first. Nobody threatened anything. They spoke like reasonable people, which is how most dangerous things begin.
If Sector 3 restricts output, the garden takes the hit first.
You mean Sector 3 should give away water it spent 20 years securing?
There is no Sector 3 water. There is Olympus City water.
Engineer, tell them what happens if we overdraw the field.
I didn't come to Mars to become a judge. I came here to keep systems alive, not choose sides.
She said it carefully. The way engineers learn to speak in rooms full of people who want different answers from the same data.
If extraction exceeds recharge and ice migration estimates, the pocket becomes unstable. Output drops. Sediment increases. Equipment strain rises.
In normal language?
In normal language, if we pull too aggressively, we damage the source.
So we ration.
The city rations, not one sector.
And if the city makes the wrong decision?
Then the city carries the consequence.
No, Sector 3 carries it because the infrastructure is there, the risk is there, the maintenance crews are ours.
This was no longer a meeting about water. It was about history. Who arrived first? Who sacrificed most? Who owed whom? The map on the table showed pipes, but everyone in the room saw power. Mara listened as the arguments circled. Legal language, emergency protocols, founding charters, population rights, maintenance obligations. Every sentence sounded modern. Every instinct underneath it was ancient. Mine. Ours. Enough. Not enough. Who gets what? Who decides? Who pays? Who suffers? Humans had crossed 225 million kilometers from Earth. They had landed rockets on another world. They had built reactors under alien skies. They had grown food without soil. They had printed walls from Martian rock. They had raised children who had never seen the planet where their species began. And yet here they were, sitting around a table, arguing over water. Like every village near a river, every city during a drought, every civilization that mistook control of resources for control of the future.
For the first time since arriving on Mars, I wondered if I had been wrong. Not about the planet, about the people. I thought Mars would be hard because Mars is hard. The cold, the radiation, the distance, the engineering. Those problems were honest. They didn't lie. They didn't form factions. They didn't rewrite history to strengthen a position. A pump either works or it doesn't. A filter either holds or it fails. People are different. People can all be partly right and still destroy the system keeping them alive.
The meeting ended without a solution. Of course it did. Committees were formed, data reviews requested, emergency proposals delayed. Mara was asked to prepare another report, as if better numbers could solve worse trust. Air moving through vents, water flowing through pipes, children passing in a school group, until their teacher reminded them not to run near an airlock junction. A repair crew carrying replacement seals, a woman adjusting a plant tray in a public growing wall, someone drinking from a metal cup without thinking about the miracle inside it. The city was alive. That was the terrifying part. It was working. Still working. For now. This was what humans had done. They had taken a dead world and carved out a pocket of breath, built a place where children could laugh, where food could grow, where people could wake up and argue about schedules, neighbors, politics. That was civilization. Not the reactors, not the tunnels, not the water lines. Those were only the body.
The real city is trust, and trust is harder to engineer.
Outside Olympus City, the surface stretched silent and red. The sky was not blue. Iron dust hung in the thin atmosphere, tinting everything the color of rust. The sun looked smaller here, farther away. Earth was somewhere in that sky, a bright point, a memory. Too slow for emergencies, too distant for permission. Mars had forced humans to grow up. No waiting for Earth, no asking for rescue, no parent planet to settle every argument. Olympus City would have to decide what kind of society it wanted to become. Not someday. Now. The water was not gone. Not yet. The city was not dying. Not yet. But something had changed. For 30 years, Olympus City had survived by solving technical problems, Radiation, pressure, power, food, water. But now the next problem had arrived, and it did not have a valve, or a filter, or a replacement part. Humans had crossed millions of kilometers to build a new world. They had solved survival. But standing beneath Olympus Mons, in a city made from Martian rock, the truth was becoming clear.
6 years ago, I came to Mars hoping humanity could start over. Standing beneath Olympus Mons, I finally understood something. People do not start over. They start again.
Building the city had been the easy part. Building a society had just begun. Because humanity had not left its oldest problem behind. It had brought it to Mars. Same species, different planet. Same problems, different stakes.